Welcome to our session on how to feel great and manifest the life of your dreams. And let's face it, that's what we'd all really like. To understand what manifest means, it actually means to create whatever it is that you want in your life, starting intelligently and sensibly in a small way and then going for bigger and bigger things, although life does tend to give you sometimes quite a big reward in the beginning if you turn your attention to how you really should live. And it's extremely interesting simply because this kind of material is not in the mainstream, it's not in the education system, it is in the ancient traditions. There are many, many people who understand this and believe it and apply it, most importantly, but it's not formally taught in any way, and many people like to ridicule this kind of stuff. But as you'll see, the proof is in the pudding, and that's the great secret, is to give you the proof. So let's look and discover how it is that you can feel great and manifest your ideal life, because that should be in the forefront of your mind. You really need to have that in place so that people who you come into interaction with can respond appropriately, because we are all energy generating beings giving off waves and vibrations and all sorts of things that are picked up by other people. We all have an atmosphere around us, and that's where you can recognize somebody by their atmosphere. And if they've changed their atmosphere, then you say, oh my goodness, you've changed. But if they're in the same sort of energy level, then they're the same as they always were. So let's look and see the position of the average person in today's world is that they want to change their life. You want to really make your life better. You want to keep that going throughout your life. You don't want to remain as you were when you were a teenager or early 20s. You want to sort of grow and mature through your life. But so many people have the problem where they've tried everything and it feels like they're banging their head against a brick wall, or there's an invisible ceiling, or I used to feel like a fly in a bottle. You'd buzz around and try to get this, that, and the other, but you couldn't get out of the bottle. The cork was in the way as well. Also, people find they can't make their relationships work. That is in itself some major problem, because if you can't get your relationships to work, even at a level of being polite, then life is very challenging. It's one of the most challenging things of all. Second only or equal to money. Money is a dramatic issue for so many people. We know that in America, 77% of people live from hand to mouth week by week, and that's a lot. So you want to get to the situation where you can master money, because money is survival. That's what its job is, to pay for the roof and food and everything else in your life. But money is a screen onto which you project your subconscious mind. That's really what it is. And when you understand it from that level, as you will as we go through, then you find that it's far easier to deal with any money issues that you might have. But also, people often report that they feel there is something greater than themselves that they can't quite grasp, or some secret of life that they would really like to experience and use, but they don't know what it is. And people who I've talked to, what I find is that many people are in overwhelm, anxiety, feeling trapped, despondency, not sure which way to turn, these kinds of things. And in general, their life isn't really being lived in the way they would like it to be lived. And this is very common. Some areas might work, some areas don't, but there is a higher level for you. And I came from a dysfunctional family, which is always a disaster if they're dysfunctional. Obviously, that's a nice way of putting a challenging upbringing. And that is very difficult when you're a child. It started when I was 7, so you come onto very unstable ground. You don't feel that you're secure in your life in any way. It seeps into your psyche and sits there all through your life, in fact. And also in my life, when my parents, in addition to their breaking up, there was also abuse, violence, all these kinds of challenging issues to deal with. But I really felt there must be more than this. There must be something that I could find out and know that would give me a great life. I read lots of books about these things. I saw other people having a great life, and I thought, what's the secret of having a great life? There must be something there for it. And that's what we're going to deal with as we go through here, because understanding is the great key for you. And the reason that we can't find our great life, or the secret of how to have a great life, or the mechanisms to have a great life, is that we haven't been told. As I said, it's not in the education system at any level at all, and those who do know it don't usually broadcast it and spread it around. The vast majority of people have no idea because of that. But by the end of the session, you're going to understand this highest knowledge of all. First of all, it's this, that very few people understand that we live in a mind-based universe. And what that means is that just like when you think of something or imagine something, and then you create it, then you do it, you take the actions and behaviors to make it come into your life, the universe works in the same way. So there is this gigantic manifesting power in the universe, and that manifesting power is something that you need to get a handle on. You need to work with it, understand it, use it, and eventually merge with it. I'll explain what it is as we go on. So the great secret of success is that you need to be determined to find the solution to you being able to live well. What is the power that you can awaken or use which will allow you to live really well? There is something. Lots and lots of people live a very satisfying and fulfilled life just on an ordinary level, let alone what's available in the higher realms of life. So your focus from now on needs to be on success, love, and freedom. I like those three words. They sort of sum up life quite well, the best life that you can have. Again, success is just what you want it to be. Love is love, and freedom is being able to live as you please and have the resources to be able to do that. So what we're going to deal with is the most amazing information about how you create your life on automatic at the moment, and then be able to use that knowledge to create the kind of fabulous experiences that you would really like to live, that you might have read about or seen other people enjoying or seen on a movie or whatever it is. You have to have that very, very clearly. So this knowledge is usually something that people have never heard before in their life, or they've heard bits of it, but certainly not put together in this way. But it is absolutely vital, as you can see. It's all facts, and you will see as we go through what it is. I was very keen to find the secret of life, and I knew there must be something more than this. Now imagine for a moment, if you do have this great secret of life at your fingertips, and you do apply yourself to using this knowledge, these techniques, these methods to get what you want, how different your life will become. Imagine being able to decide on something, choose something, and then just go for it, and it all unfolds in the way that you want it to. This is living from being a manifester, the manifesting power, using the mind and its resources as the creative power of your life. So what will become the issue for you is that you will sit back one day and think, okay, what shall I do next? What's going to be my experience of life? And that's often the most challenging thing for people to come up with. What am I going to do next? But I'm sure you'll be able to work through that one when you have this kind of extraordinary ability. It seems extraordinary, but it's absolutely natural. It's just that we've been layered over by our upbringing and civilization and held in the corks in the bottle once again. So let's look and see, what exactly are you? What exactly is a human being? Because you need to come back to number one. A human being is an experience-creating instrument. That all you do throughout your entire life is create experiences and live them out. That's what people do all our lives. Some experiences are very short, like having a cup of tea. Some are very lifelong, like a relationship or perhaps a house you own or something like that, a skill you follow. But basically everything you do is an experience. Every experience has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And all you do throughout your life is create experiences. That's what human life is. That's what we're here for. That's what we all do. So realizing that, what is important for you is to turn your attention to what is it that actually gets those experiences, creates those experiences in my life. How do those experiences come to me, particularly the ones that I don't want? Because there's a reason for everything. We live in a universe governed by laws, and these laws are unbreakable. They are what they are. So you can peel back the wrappings, you can see what it is that is driving your life. So what powers do you have to create your life experiences? Number one, you have three powers. The first is that the circumstances you find yourself in. So you have created from your past a certain set of circumstances, and they are the springboard into the next level or area of your life. The second power you have are the actions that you take. The actions are the key, and how you act in life, physical actions in other words, that's quite straightforward to understand. We don't need to analyze that in any way. You walk, you drive the car, you type on the computer, and so on. But the third one, and this is the key, are your behaviors. Your behaviors, when you split the word to behave, breaks into two words, to be and to have. So when you're behaving, you are being in a certain way to have a particular result. Now, most people don't know this. They think behaviors are a sort of spontaneous thing, and in a way they are, but there are roots to all behaviors that feed from your subconscious mind. So every time you express yourself, what you're calling for is a reaction to that expression. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what this is. This is crucial knowledge. And let's look and see, what is it? What is the faculty that creates your behaviors? It is the faculty of choice. At any time in your life, you only ever have two choices. Either, yes, I will go with that thing, or no, I won't. So in your life, in the screen of your life, people, events, circumstances appear, and all the time, you're making the choice to either go with that person, event, opportunity, or not to. That's the whole thing. All the things you said yes to have made you into who you are and the life experience that you've had so far. So that actual power of choice is totally in charge of what your experience of life actually is. So why did you make the choices that you did in the past that have turned you into the person you are today and given you the life experiences you've had so far? If you can answer that, then you have the beginning of understanding this body-mind instrument and all its powers that you live in and as and through. So understanding why those choices came to the conscious mind, your conscious mind, and you said yes. So if somebody says, would you go out with me? And you go yes or no. Will you marry me? Yes or no. Sometimes you say yes, and then down the track you think, why on earth did I ever do that? It should have been a no, but there you go. There's reasons, as you'll see as we go on. But everything in life is a choice. What career are you going to follow? I'll do that, yes. What kind of house, lifestyle, amount of money, creative abilities, friends, anything and everything, you have to have said yes to include it in your life. So that's very, very important to know that. So where do the choices come from that make you go yes or no, and also create your behavior to be what it is? Well, quite obviously they don't fly in from outside your mind into your head or something like that. You're not floating around in a sea of choices. What happens is they arise from within you. And when they arise from within you, they've come from what's called the subconscious part of your mind. And the subconscious part of your mind is that gigantic storehouse of memories that have been made up, filled up with what are called impressions. So in your experience, you go through every day, and through the five senses, you capture, just like a camera captures the photographs on its digital memory, or film if you've still got a film camera. In come all the impressions of everything that's going on, and it's shown through many studies that you pick up things at the periphery of your vision, for instance, that you are unaware you're picking up, because the mind is like a gigantic sponge and it absorbs everything. Just in case it's probably something from survival mechanism, you're always there on the alert. You're drinking it in, drinking it in, drinking it in, and it is filling out. These impressions are little bites of information, little snapshots of a nanosecond of your life. And so thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands, pour in every day into your mind and are stored in your memory. You have no ability to stop this as a child in particular, but even as an adult, most adults are completely susceptible to this, and this is what's called advertising. And the mind absorbs everything, whether it's true or false, right or wrong. In it goes, and you are a result of it. So as these impressions go in, and they're called impressions because they impress onto your nervous system, just like something, a seal, an old-fashioned seal, will impress onto hot wax on the back of an envelope. Remember those old seals that you saw? Those impressions that you have absorbed automatically, usually unconsciously, they just get drawn in, drawn in, drawn in. They are sorted into memory packets inside your subconscious, regardless of their truth or falsity. That doesn't matter. Now, what is really important for you is this, that many of those impressions are stored with blocked emotion. So in other words, you have got blocked emotion sitting there in your subconscious mind from all the times that you felt angry or unhappy or disappointed or frustrated and so on, but you weren't able to express it. So emotion is emotion, energy in motion. And when an energy which should be in motion is stopped, then what happens is it stores up. And just like a pressure cooker getting filled up with more and more pressure from the gas underneath it, the steam builds, the little valve might let a little bit of steam off, but basically that's human life, is that we have to control ourselves through the functions of civilization and self-control. We're all trained to keep our energies within and bury them deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. Now, most people don't have a real obvious problem with that. They have no idea what it's like to be completely free, which is where we all have to aim, because if you don't aim for freedom, you'll never find it, and it's within you, as you'll see. So these emotions store up inside these memory packets in your subconscious mind, and they become recordings that just play out over and over again throughout your life, unless you do something to change them, which I'll be explaining shortly. So that's what you have to realize. You have been set up, you have been filled up with programs, filled up with the blocked energy which fuels the programs. You live at the surface of your conscious mind, but your life is really lived from your subconscious mind. And this is what we all have to realize. And when you realize it and you apply simple methods, then you're going to be fine. So let's look and see what happens now to these memory packets, because this is what lives your life. So a memory packet, if it's small, let's say like driving a car, will just become a little automatic engine, a little automatic program inside you and do its job. Brushing your teeth is another one. All these automatic things that you have left, they're useful, they're functional, and they're fine. You don't have to do anything about them. But many of these programs, which are filled up with impressions of what's going on through your five senses, in it goes. What happens to these impressions is they bunch together and they can build into what are called sub-personalities. In other words, programs of behaviors. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into this, but I just want you to understand it enough, is that you are made up, like all of us, it's not some mental illness or anything, this is the way we all are, you are made up of a number of different sub-personalities. In other words, sets of behaviors. So the way you behave towards your parents is different to the way you behave to your own children. The way you behave at work is different to the way you behave when you're socializing. The way you behave when you're on the sporting field is different to the way you behave when you're on the computer doing some technical work, and so on. So in other words, it's horses for courses. You have particular behaviors for the different parts of your life. The major problem, and listen to this carefully, the major problem for you and everybody else is that people take the wrong sub-personality, set of behaviors in other words, to the different parts of their lives. Take a simple example. Let's say you have a work sub-personality or set of behaviors. What happens is with that work sub-personality is that you take that to your office, let's say, but sometimes you have just come from, let's say, a lunch with a friend, and you're in a bit of a party mood, a bit of fun times. Or maybe you're feeling very slothful and lethargic, a couch potato kind of sub-personality comes out. So when you go to work and you take the couch potato, that's not a good one to take to work. The couch potato doesn't like, of course, working. So when you are, let's say, somebody who is very intellectual, take a lawyer who is there in their lawyer sub-personality all day, which is analysis, grilling someone in the witness box and so on. What happens then is that they go home to their wife. Let's say he's a man, he goes home to his wife, but he brings his lawyer sub-personality with him and starts to put his wife in the witness box and grill her with those kinds of behaviors. No good for romance. The wife wants romance, he's there being a lawyer. That's why they have problems. And a lot of lawyers come to me with those particular problems in the early days of the seminars, actually. So what is important is to realize at any point in time, which sub-personality are you taking to the different parts of your life? Are you taking the sloth, the couch potato to work? Are you taking your work, lawyer, analysis person home to your relationship when romance is more appropriate or playing with the kids is more appropriate? You start to build the consciousness through this correct work, quite automatically. You build the consciousness of what is this body-mind instrument that you're living in and as and through. So it's just like having a series of computer programs in your mind. Each one does its own thing. So word processing does word processing, it doesn't do audio editing, and it doesn't do accounting. They are individual programs. Graphics do graphics, and so on. So you are made up of a number of these programs, and this is the secret for people who have problems in relationships. Because unless you realize that there is you and your sub-personalities, and then there is your husband or wife and their sub-personalities. In other words, there's two groups of people living together, and of course you hope a few of them get on, that's married life, but eventually you find that these different sub-personalities come out for a run. And that's where people have problems in relationships. They don't realize that what the partner is doing is completely normal and healthy. It's just the way the human psyche is molded. So you need to get in touch with your true power. And this is the game of life. Life is power. It is energy. It is going for more power. And the power it's going for and with is a force of creativity. You can look to everything in life and you can see that basically all the things in life are not looking for happiness. What they're looking for is growth and expression of power. Whether it's an individual member of a species or whether it's a group, doesn't matter. It's to do with the expression of power, a volcano, an earthquake, a storm, the ocean. All things in life are expressions of power. And your secret, this is the secret, is that you have to get in touch with that power. in order to make the changes that you want. And when you do, you will be shocked and exhilarated at exactly what you can create in your life once you have your integration with this power going on a daily basis. So your subpersonalities are not who you are. People think they're who you are, but they're not who you are. What they are different modes of expression for your power. Yourself, your own self, is an energy, a fire hose of power, which has been suppressed, contained, put in the bottle like the fly in the bottle, cork on. That's what's happened for you. And that's what causes all the frustrations, the disappointments, the confusion, the lack of fulfillment, the inability to relate properly, the way to get money. All these things are there contained and containing you inside the fire hose, in other words, and your life is spent with that confusion projecting out. Because that's what happens. You project out whatever's within you, and you choose so many circumstances in your life to reflect back to you what you have held down inside you. So there's no use just working in the world. You can make some difference, but the crunch must come that you look within and you go for your inner nature. And with your subpersonalities, again, it's a fascinating thing, is that at the surface of your mind, you have about a dozen or so major subpersonalities, one for your relationships, one for work, one for sport, one for leisure, and so on. And then below that, in your subconscious mind, you have hundreds of either buried, suppressed, or unused subpersonalities. So all your bad behaviors when you were growing up have been forced underneath, hopefully mostly. Down they go. All the lack of encouragement that you got is reflected in subpersonalities that wanted to express themselves but couldn't. So that's buried down there within you as well. And what you need to do, what you want to do, is to free up your power. Don't just look at things to try and sort out individual issues. Go for the big game. The manifesting power is the power of your life. And the way that you will free yourself, and the only way you'll create what you want, is to become a conscious manifester. That's the single skill. That's the thing that separates the wheat from the chaff. So the other interesting point, very briefly, is that you've heard of the phrase opposites attract in a relationship. Okay? So the surface subpersonalities that you have, your surface behaviors, have within yourself, deep in your subconscious, the opposites of those behaviors. So if you have somebody who's very powerful at the surface of their mind, they have a weakling or a coward buried deeply within themselves. Or you have someone who's very creative at the surface of their mind, you have within them somebody who's very, very blocked with creativity and self-expression. Now what happens is this, in the magic of life, is that opposites attract. So the person who has, let's say, the great creative, powerful expression, because they've buried their blocked creativity, they're able to express creativity, they've buried the one that can't be creative, they, by the magic of life, are attracted to someone who is blocked in their creativity. So you have the creative person consciously is attracted to the uncreative person consciously. They too have buried inside their subconscious a great creative power, because you always have the two sides of every coin. And so the conscious mind of the uncreative person is attracted to the subconscious mind of the creative person, and vice versa. So you have that cross. And that's why opposites attract. You are trying to make your psyche whole. This is what drives most people. They want their psyche to be whole. They want to be at one. So they find themselves attracted to people in the main who reflect back to them what they've buried within their own mind. And this is what happens in relationships in huge ways, but also in work, with money, with self-expression, with all sorts of things. That's why you see many people who've suppressed their warrior will find themselves very attracted to sport, to watch some great, magnificent team of New Zealanders, let's say, battling it out rugby-wise, the All Blacks, coming out there, real warriors. And they will cheer and scream and shout from the seats, but they won't get out there and do it. So they have projected their disowned selves, which is what all that stuff that's buried in your subconscious is called, the disowned selves. So your life, in addition to what I've already covered, is a seeking of integration of what you have disowned within yourself. Now, let's say you've disowned a part of you that is to do with money. What you will do, let's say that's a really contracted, limited part of yourself that you imitated from dad or mom or whatever. What you'll find is, because that is buried within yourself and at the surface you want a lot of money and you're positive about money and all that kind of thing, it will keep bringing the relationship with lack of money into your life. See how it works? You will unknowingly create those issues in your life that are buried in your subconscious mind. So that's a very brief resume of that. Now, life itself doesn't want you to do this, because life has one goal for you biologically, and that is to grow you to full bloom. Exactly the same as every other plant and animal and whatever else in the universe. Everything grows to full bloom. That's what it does. The eagles start as little chicks and up they go, and they fly as gigantic eagles, and the tulip bulb goes into the ground and sprouts and becomes a tulip, and so on. Now, you too are something that has been born to grow to full bloom. And 24/7, life tries to grow you to full bloom. What is it that stops that happening? Why aren't you able to complete the arc of maturity in your own life that would allow you to flourish and prosper and express yourself fully? It's because of the subconscious resistances, blocks, limitations, the corks in the bottle, the constant suggestion from outside that you are less than you could possibly be, the culture, the television shows, the movies, the songs, everything there is going in to keep you contained and trapped. You want to get out of that. You want to get in touch with your real power, your power of manifesting what you want. And you have to use a few simple techniques to manifest those kinds of things. So life tries to clear you 24/7. The biological forces is there inside you, pump, 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 trying to push these negative contractions out. And as that takes place, of course, what do? They project that force of life trying to heal and clear you, projects that contraction into your life, and you find your life is filled with contractions that you have to deal with, and you don't know why. This is the loop that goes on for everybody who doesn't do this work formally and consciously. Even though it only takes a few minutes a day, it's a different attitude to life, people don't do it. Goodness knows why. So the big problem, I suppose, is that if you're conscious of something, you can let it go. And if it's in the subconscious, you can't let it go because you don't know it's there. You think the cause of your problems is in the outside world. You have to realize that you are a projector, just like in a movie house. Things are projected onto the screen. Your subconscious and its patterns project onto the screen of your life all your limitations, all your money problems, your relationship problems, your career problems, your lifestyle problems, self-expression, creativity, whatever it is. Look within, look within, look within. Awaken the manifesting power, simple methods. Bring to you, starting in a small way and then expanding quickly, because it will become quite easy as you start in a tiny little way, and start to behave in the way that you were born to live. You see, we're all living an unnatural life. We believe that somehow or other, things outside there in the world will, in some way, work themselves out if we keep taking actions and expressing behaviors that are sort of appropriate to it. No. Within, within, within. So what you want to do is to try and flush out from your subconscious, which is basically the body is the subconscious, the body is the unconscious, stored within you in all parts of your system are these old memories. You can see that if you look into it clearly. This is how they're finding all sorts of memories get stored, buried, and often when you get older, you start to remember them all, but they are operating. If you can remember them, they're running your life. That's a very important thing. So what is important is that your subconscious will, through the force of life trying to clear you, send choices into your conscious mind to attract yourself to people, events, and circumstances which match, at least partly, the same people, events, and circumstances that were around when those blockages went in. So if you found that when you were growing up, one of your parents or your siblings or Uncle Joe or whoever it might be, if you find that that person put in impressions into you, they might have been unconsciously doing it just through their behaviors, but if you took on board what they were doing and you allowed it in, and when you're a child you've got no defenses, that you will find that you have to attract someone or some situation like that into your life. You won't do it consciously. The subconscious will do it. The subconscious is brilliant. It's in league with the superconscious, which is the intelligence of life itself. And what will happen is that you will continue to create the events that match your inner patterns until you've cleared them. The only way to free yourself is not just through the therapies and the techniques of ordinary personal development. It is to become a manifester. Because why? Because life, the power of life, your essential power, is a manifesting power. It is a creative power that's expressing fuel and energy to create this universe. You are part of that. You are a little droplet of the universe. So it's the same for you as well. So it's the expression of the power. That's what you need to work on. And the only way you can work on it is through becoming a great manifester. That's it. By causing and forcing life to deliver for you what it is that you want. And remember that your subconscious, with all its memories, controls you by your feelings. You know that. Let's say you meet somebody and they want to go out with you, ask you out. You've got to feel right about that person. If you feel bad about them, you won't go out. Or let's say you're offered a job and you say, oh, I don't really feel right about that job. This is the subconscious running its patterns, by the way, turning on the emotions of negativity that stop you going down that track, because that track does not match one of the instructions in your subconscious mind. So there's a job turns up for you, let's say, and you are able to do the job very, very easily. It's a highly paid job with great people to work with. It's everything that you could possibly want as a dream job. But inside your mind, due to being bullied at school, let's say, you have within yourself an instruction left over from when you were 10 years old, which says, I cannot enjoy myself in the workplace, which is what school was for you at that age. Therefore, you can't take that job. The subconscious will come up with the feelings that say, no. You won't know why, but you will justify it. You'll say, oh, I didn't really like the office building, or they had some other problem. You can justify anything. But the reality is that it is your old patterns that are actually running you. So when you don't feel right about something, you tend not to do it. And the reason you don't feel right about something is because of some subconscious instruction within you, which your life force is trying to clear from you. So it'd rather you went into a confronting situation so that you'd had the chance to clear that. Because unless you are in a matching situation, it's very hard to bring to the surface the corks in the bottles that are there within you. So you have this power to not only do that, but to actually attract into your life the people, events, and circumstances that match your inner patterns. This is the so-called law of attraction. The real law of attraction is better, but what the law of attraction is in commercial terms is that you can attract things into your life and things are attracted to you and so on. Like a TV transmitting tower can send out the signals into the city and people can pick it up on their TVs. So this is the idea of the law of attraction. And you can draw into yourself those things that match your inner patternings as I've just described. So you want to see what is it, you need to look and see in your own life, what is it that you have chosen in your life right now that you are actually living out? What is that reality that you're living out? Because all the elements of your life are, naturally enough, motivated by something. So what you need to do is to, number one, become a manifester. Become a person who consciously and deliberately creates their life. Now, in order to do that, which is actually extremely enjoyable, not just rather enjoyable, but extremely enjoyable, because the first thing you manifest, once you use the simple techniques, the first thing that you manifest gives you such a thrill, you can hardly believe it, that, my God, it actually works, you know. We have found, teaching this for 30 years now, we have found that people take about a week, if they've never manifested before, to bring something simple into their life. Now, you know manifesting as a coincidence. So the coincidences that happen in your life are very significant for you. Number one, because they are coincidental, they are filled with meaning, in other words. But number two, what is it that can cause a coincidence to take place? What is that gigantic intelligence in life that can pull together all the elements and make something happen in a most unexpected way? If you take a simple example, I like to use this example, it's so obvious, we've all had it. Have you ever had the experience of thinking of somebody and they telephone you a couple of minutes later? Well, in the studies, it's 90% of people have that experience. 90%, that's a lot, isn't it? It's beyond a coincidence, there's something else in play. So you want to ask yourself, what is the intelligence that can allow such things to happen? What is the intelligence that when you start to think about how much you'd like to go on a holiday to the Himalayas or something, what is the intelligence that starts to bring you, and you know this happens for you, starts to bring you information about the Himalayas and holidaying in the Himalayas? Maybe you read magazines that you picked up off the train seat next to you. You sit down, there's a magazine, you flick it open, and there's a whole article on holidays in the Himalayas. Or you're at work talking to one of the clients, and that client has just come back from the Himalayas. I mean, there are, ridiculous amounts of these so-called coincidences. The secret for you is this, that the force of creativity, the fire hose within you that is your true self, will draw into your life anything that you hold within your mind. So when you hold something in the proper ways within your mind, you embed it into the wax of your mind, the impressions go in it goes, in it goes, in it goes. It sits there in your mind, and your mind then projects it out. What else can it do? If you speak English growing up, English has gone in, what's going to come out of you? Obviously English. French isn't going to come out, or Chinese, it's English. So what goes in must come out. You can put in the correct ways, admittedly there's specially designed methods to do this. You can bring into your mind, embed in your mind, what it is that you want to live out, while at the same time dissolving whatever it is, the chains, the anchors that hold you back. But the way to do that, once again, is by manifesting something that you want. Because when you manifest something that you want, you are drawing your identity back to who you really are. You are not the personality or any of the sub-personalities. The word persona, personality, means mask. So the personality, whoever chose the word, knew that it was a mask. What is it a mask of? It's a mask of your true self. So what you're doing, your true self, is a fire hose of power, which has been wrapped up and entrapped by all the conditioned and limiting experiences that you've had. So if you want to free that power up, you've got to start using it. It's just like trying to build big muscles in the gym. Unless you go to the gym, you won't build them. It's no use reading all the magazines about it and studying the biology of it and all those sorts of things and discussing it with people. Useless, isn't it? You have to pick up the weights. So in exactly the same way, to heal yourself, to free up all the negativity, what you need to do is to actually express your manifesting power, because that will put you in alignment with it. It will then spark awake a little bit more. It'll flush out whatever it is that gives you the false identity which you have, because you are power, you are energy, you are consciousness, you are intelligence. That's what you really are. You're not the behaviors of the personality. They're just things you have, not things you are. But once you start doing it, simple though it is, not only does your life transform, but you transform as well. Hi, Raman. Can you talk about how the gripping of the subpersonalities is really the gripping and holding down of natural energy that should flow freely, and how tension blocks the flow of energy? I have noticed as I get into better subpersonalities, there is always the unblocking of energy through me, but the lower energy subpersonalities, the energy is blocked. Yes, well, you see, this is getting deeply into subpersonalities. I'll answer it briefly because people may not understand it. But basically what happens is that the subpersonalities actually are the lower ones, the negative ones, in other words, are filled with obviously negative emotion, and they sabotage you. You might have noticed if you wake up in the night with anxiety, for instance, which is a very common thing in society, and that anxiety is due to the subpersonalities that are lower down the energy pole, if you like, that are more freaked out with life or whatever their memory contains. And they do tend to draw you down. I would not be bothered with unlocking their energy. I would be bothered with moving yourself to a higher level. That's my advice. Move yourself to a higher level, and you can move yourself to a higher level through concentration and concentration exercises and various other things. I do have another course which I'll be putting out soon, again, which is Deep Rest Now, which answers all those questions because so many people ask me. Okay, Dan, try. Oh, you can't copy and paste the link from the chat box. So I can click on it. Can you email me, Lucy, with that request? Because I get so many emails, so I don't forget. Email me with that request as usual, and I'll do that for you. Okay, so what you're looking for with this work is that you are looking for access to your power. That your goal in life is to have power. We have been fed a bit of a red herring in that we should go just for happiness. And that's great to go for happiness, but one step from happiness is power, and when you have power, you feel happy. Happiness is the arising of energy through the system where you feel happier. What is that? You feel more powerful when you're happier. Well, if you go for power itself, in the ways I'm suggesting here, what you find is that you will quite naturally feel happier and happier and happier. And when you talk with the great yogis or read their work, they all went for what's called the Shakti in India, which is power. They went for that, and that gave them not just happiness, but bliss, ecstasy, and put them in a state of consciousness. Because what I want for you, for the world actually, is to get you into a state of consciousness where you are centered, where you are bright, where you are positive, where you are creative, and where your life can work for you in the way that you want it to work. So all the work that I offer is to do with that, is to take you to that position where you can live as you were born to live. So civilization has tremendous benefits, but it has also lots and lots of problems in the sense of being able to have people enjoy freedom. So you need to have that freedom in your life. Freedom comes from power as well. So what would be great for you is to go to the situation in your life where you can basically sit back and decide what you want. Maybe sit on an armchair thinking away. You decide what you want. You think it through to make sure that it's exactly how you like to experience whatever it is that you're after. Maybe you want to go on a yacht across the South Pacific to Tahiti or something. Whatever it is that you want in your life, just have a happier relationship, have the house sell, which you've been trying to sell for months. We've had a lot of success with people with that. There's all sorts of things that you want. Sit down and decide, what is it that I want? what is it that I really want? Write down as many goals as you like. When I first did this when I was probably 17 or 18, I wrote down 8 pages of goals. Well, that's a young man, 8 pages. So I would suggest that you decide on something, you write it down, you make it clear, of course, this is the basics. You listen to all these different audios that you're attracted to, whichever ones you're attracted to, but certainly listen to you in your life. That will help you an awful lot. And then when you do that, then you'll find that your mind will become attuned in a new way. Because what you're battling against in the beginning is the resistance to success. That's what we all have to fight with, the resistance to being a successful person. Because the whole society is designed to drag you down, as you know. People at the bottom, of which there are more than people at the top, will try and drag you down. Often you find people who are at the top or higher up will pull you up. So it's that negativity, because people who are in a negative state don't want you to shine. They want you not to shine, because when you shine, you put the spotlight on them and point out where they're failing. So if you decide, I'm going to live my life as a creator, don't have to tell anybody else. In fact, it's probably a good idea not to. And then slowly, incrementally, recondition your mind for wealth, recondition your mind for happy relationships, for successful living, accept reality of certain things, realize in a relationship people get ill, they get overtired, they get negative, and if they've come from a ghastly upbringing themselves, which many have unfortunately, then obviously they're going to be living that out as well. So you start to hone and tune yourself in so that you can become a person of power. And you develop your power through manifesting. So these audios, manuals, and videos that I've shown you will help you more than anything. It is so inexpensive as to be a no-brainer. I want it to be a no-brainer for you, because I want to get this information out into society. If we can't deal with the challenges of society, then society will fracture. So it's up to anybody and everybody who has something to contribute, something to inspire, some way of uplifting their own life, to throw their hat in the ring and do something. So that's our goal. Our goal is to bring more happiness into the world with the right information, this information of power, of Shakti, of energy, of consciousness, of higher intelligence, those kinds of things. And once you've proved it in your own life, then you can never forget it. One single proof. So if you imagine something, using one of the techniques there that are in the audios that you're going to get, one single thing comes along, it will surprise you so much that you will never forget it. Never forget it. You may not do it again, simply because what happens to people, that the sludge of negativity flows over them. But if you have these audios, you listen to them again and again over a period of time, you imbibe, you embed, you fill yourself with the truth of how life works for you. So that is a great thing to do. Let me just see another question. I've experienced a few manifesting things from your course. Then things went bad. How can I get back to feeling great? Well, what happens for us all is that it's like an onion. You peel off a layer, you have perhaps great success, and then the next layer with its past inputs from your upbringing, that comes out too. But that onion basically ends at some point in time. There's just space. And that's what you're going for. You're going for actual inner freedom, inner space. It can come very quickly when you use the techniques. It can't come quickly, if at all, when you don't use the techniques. We once went to Perth and we had 3,000 people come to the course. 3,000 people, that was a huge success. And then we rang them, we had a team on, we rang them the next year saying we're coming back. And half of them said that it hadn't worked for them, and half of them said it had. And we thought, well, that's very odd. Why is it? So I got the telemarketers to ask them why it hadn't worked. And I got them to say, have you been practicing the methods and techniques? Well, the half that it didn't work for had not practiced the techniques. They'd just done the 1 day or 2 days. And those that it did work for had continued to practice. So look at this as a reconditioning opportunity for yourself. Starting immediately, recondition your mind for the success that you want. That's crucial. That's really very, very important indeed. You have to do it. Nobody can do it for you. And don't leave it too long, because the clock, as you know, marches on.